Dù có đi bốn phương trời, lòng vẫn nhớ về Hà Nội của ta. Thủ đô yêu dấu, một thời đạn bom, một thời hòa bình. Nhớ phố thăm nhiệm dọc bóng cây, tiếng ve dù những chưa hè. Và nhớ những công viên vừa mới xây, bước chân em chưa mòn lối. Ôi nhớ hồ gươm xanh thắm, nơi tháp rùa nhanh soi bóng, thành khu thăng long hòn nước non tiếng, còn lắng đâu đây dấu xưa oai hùng. Hà Nội ơi, nhớ những cơn mưa dài cuối đông, áo chân chưa ấm thân mình. Và nhớ lúc bom rơi lửa chiến tranh, đất rừng ngồi tàn gạch nát. Em vẫn đạp xe ra phố, anh vẫn tìm âm thanh mới. Bài hát tuổi ta là khúc quân ca, là ước mơ xa hứng lên ba đình, tràn niềm tin. Nhớ phố khoáng trên đường Nguyễn Du, những đêm hoa sữa thơm nồng. Và nhớ bao khuôn mặt men thân đã quên bước chân giọng nói. Ôi nhớ chiều 30 Tết, trên giữa đào hoa tươi thắm, đường phố đông vui chờ đón thân nhiên, là phút thiêng liêng lắng nghe tiếng người. Hà Nội ơi, dù có đi bóng phương trời, lòng vẫn nhớ về Hà Nội của ta. Thủ đô yêu dấu, một thời đạn bom, một thời hòa bình.
Wow, thank you so much, Sarah and pianist Nguyệt Minh, for your beautiful performance. And I'm curious, what made you sing this song about Hanoi so beautifully?
Well, I knew that this song is a song that's beloved by the Vietnamese people, and when I looked more deeply into the lyrics, I could really understand why, given how the lyrics describe kind of the poetry, the beauty, the sense, sights, sounds, smells of Hanoi, and also the history, everything the people have been through. And I also was able to connect with it on a personal level, given the unique fact that Hanoi was actually the very first city that I traveled to internationally in 2009 when my uncle was living here and invited me here. Mm-hmm. And so after that, I did travel the four corners of the world, as the song says, and yet I always remembered Hanoi as that first place that opened my eyes to the world, and I remembered the Vietnamese people and just the beauty of the culture that I felt here. So, and then I eventually decided to come back here to live here for the past 6 years, and so I always remember Hanoi, and I connected with the song on that level as well.
Thank you for sharing with us your personal story.
Thank you.
And I'm sure that the Vietnamese audience love to hear you sing this song about Hanoi.
Thank you. It's a privilege. Thank you.
Yeah. And just as Sarah has just said, the first line of the song, dù có đi bốn phương trời, lòng vẫn nhớ về Hà Nội. Why is Hanoi so endearing and captivating to our foreign friends? We're trying to uncover that in this special edition of Talk Vietnam about Hanoi.
I chose to live in this city because of the Hanoi people, because I love their spirit and their resilience and their passion for culture as well.
It's making me appreciate more and more intangible heritage in Hanoi.
I have witnessed and shared the pain of war with the Vietnamese people, but now I experience love, and the pain gradually fades away. I am able to return here thanks to your love and care. I made the right choice, and it is the best thing I have ever done.
Tôi cảm thấy rất là tự hào người nước ngoài sống ở Hà Nội.
For Vietnam, and Hanoi, I'm truly a true patriot.
Hanoi, thank you very much for being Hanoi and for being an amazing group of people and for having an amazing culture, because you're the best city in the world.
And it's our great pleasure to have here in the studio with us today 3 guests from 3 different countries. Mr. George Burchett, an artist from Australia.
Thank you for having me.
Miss Stella Ciorra from the UK, and she's the president of the Friends of Vietnam Heritage. And Mr. James Kendall from the US. He's also the one who received Bùi Xuân Phái for the love of Hanoi in 2016. So it's our great pleasure to have you here today. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So may I start with one question? If you can choose one thing that can speak itself about your love for Hanoi, what would it be?
I would say the spirit. I can't explain it, but ever since I first came here, the spirit has never changed, and it gets stronger and stronger, especially during hardship times. The Hanoian people work so hard. They never give up. They're all going somewhere, and as we know, they're going in all different directions, but they eventually get to the same place. There's a driving force, a really strong driving force.
Maybe the optimistic attitude towards life and hardship. Yes. What about you, George?
I would say the same. I would say the people of Hanoi make Hanoi, and they make Hanoi history, they make Hanoi culture, they make Hanoi street life, which is so lively and interactive, and they always smile, they're always busy and optimistic, always overcome hardship through wars and also natural disasters. And it makes Hanoi this amazingly lively and intensely human place. And I think that's what many people appreciate. It's just getting in touch with this humanity that is represented by the people of Hanoi, but of course the people of Vietnam as well.
What about you, James?
I completely agree. I love the people of Vietnam and in Hanoi. I mean, their culture is something that's very unique. And I remember the first time I came to Hanoi, I just kind of fell in love with how different things are in comparison to my hometown. I find the culture and the people very interesting and lovely. The people are so generous, caring, and considerate. And I feel like this is my home, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I wonder, when was the first time that you met Hanoi?
For me, I was actually born in Hanoi, so not that I remember, but that was 1 year after Dien Bien Phu and 2 days before Uncle Ho's birthday. But also I grew up with the Vietnam War of Resistance. But my father, who was a journalist, reported from the Ho Chi Minh side. So that was the big story of my growing up, was the heroic people of Vietnam resisting invaders, aggressors, and fighting most importantly, for a just cause. for the independence of the country, for the liberation of the country, and for the unity of the country against colonialists, imperialists. And all this was told also in black and white photos that my father took from 54 to 1980s. But when I first returned to Hanoi, which was in 2006, suddenly I saw this in color. And this contrast between the beautiful black and white photos that capture the history and the fighting, and then the actual reality of today, Hanoi in color, that really impacted me. I mean, it's just, all this came alive, but in color and today on the spot.
So you brought here with you a special book.
Yes.
Yeah, so can you describe it to us?
Well, it's a book of my father's photos of Vietnam from 1954 to 1966. This is my father interviewing President Ho Chi Minh in 1966.
He was quite unique, wasn't he, your dad?
And this is my family in Hanoi.
Oh, really? Where was that
my
taken?
mom, my brother who was born in Beijing, and me.
Where was the photo
And most
taken?
importantly,
Yeah.
this is me
Yeah.
making my first steps to Hanoi. It's very funny.
Cute,
Yeah.
George, that's so cute.
Yes.
Oh.
Very ridiculous.
Artist George Burchett's father, Australian journalist Wilfred Burchett, was one of the few Western reporters who lived alongside Vietnamese soldiers in the Viet Bac War Zone and the southern battlefields during the wars against the French and the Americans. For nearly 30 years, beginning with his first meeting with President Ho Chi Minh in March 1954, Wilfred Burchett wrote extensively about the Vietnamese people's struggle on the path towards socialism, their fight for national independence, and their quest for reunification. He is regarded as one of the most prolific authors on Vietnam, with works such as North of the 17th Parallel, Mekong Upstream, and Vietnam, the Second Resistance. His books, articles, and films about Vietnam reached a global audience, playing a key role in rallying international opposition to the unjust U.S. war in Vietnam. Among the hundreds of documents that George Burchett has carefully preserved over his half a century is his father's first book on Vietnam, North of the 17th Parallel, which captures Wilfred's emotions as he marched with Vietnamese People's Army into Hanoi to take over the capital on October 10, 1954.
No one who witnessed these momentary reunions could doubt the depths of their emotions, their love of family, their yearning for permanent reunion. One could only marvel at their discipline, the greater love of their whole people that transcended their personal desires, their understanding and acceptance of the need for further sacrifices, so that all could enjoy tomorrow what they must renounce today. That's what my father witnessed, and that's how he describes this amazing historical moment. I feel that connects me directly to these important moments in Vietnam history, because as a result of him crossing the bridge and entering Hanoi, he decided to stay on in Hanoi, and so I was born in Hanoi in May.
After arriving in Hanoi, Wilfred Burchett grew increasingly attached to the city. He captured many photographs of Hanoi's citizens, such as Hanoi's female militia, the satirical murals of U.S. pilots in Hanoi, and a moment of peace at Dong Nhat Park. These photos, taken during his time in the city, helped to pass on a deep love for the capital to his son, George Burchett. Although George left Hanoi as a child to follow his father to different parts of the world, he never forgot where he was born. In 2011, he returned to Hanoi and decided to stay. In October 2020, after completing the Phuc Tan Community Art Project, he was among 15 artists awarded the Bùi Xuân Phái for the Love of Hanoi Prize in the Work category. This project transformed the area under Long Bien Bridge from a dumping ground into a vibrant space that now attracts young people and tourists. The project took place beneath the very bridge that his father once crossed.
When I look at, say, Long Bien Bridge, I imagine this movement of the Vietnam People's Army crossing and my father among them. So important historical moment that my father witnessed and wrote about. And so I grew up with all these sort of stories.
And Stella, you have introduced many streets and corners of Hanoi to international friends and visitors. Tell us about that experience and what part of the history of Hanoi you got the most questions from the tourists.
I think the development of Hanoi, because there is like over 1,000 years history, and so from 1,000 years you've gone through so many different layers, from the royal, ruling families through to the French era, and for me is the huge change done through the French period. And like Hugues, who is still alive, he's an amazing cultural writer.
He's over
106, 107 Vietnamese years. He always said that the French period was the first stage, the big change and the first stage in Vietnam's modernization. There is so much that is iconic about Hanoi now is from the French period. And a lot of people that live here and visitors all comment on those particular structures.
You can see the French architecture.
And a lot of it is being, because there are protected buildings in Hanoi as well, as you know, but also some of them are now being renovated and brought back to their former glory, which is so lovely to see, especially down to Chung Hon Dao, 51 Chung Hon Dao and 22 Hang Buom.
So Stella, your first encounter with Hanoi was in
1995 as a tourist.
Yes.
As a tourist. But as soon as I left, I didn't want to be a tourist anymore. I wanted to come back and make it my home. So 1996 I came back, 97, 98 was when I truly started to make really good friends and create a life. Because it is the people, and the people is very easy to make the most amazing friends in Hanoi.
I love meeting all generations of Hanoi people, particularly the older generation, because for me they've lived through many different decades and different periods. And so someone like Mr. Viet has very personal stories that you can't read on the internet.
Trong những thời gian khó khăn là tinh thần của làng ngói Hà Nội như thế nào?
Chúng tôi phải ăn cơm đội, cơm với lại bo.
Hà Nội
vẫn
làm
cả.
việc, đi thang và
vẫn cứ làm việc, cống hiến cho Tổ quốc.
Thanks to her love for Hanoi, Stella Ciorra became involved and is now the president of Friends of Vietnam Heritage, FVH, a non-profit organization founded by expatriates living in Hanoi. Over the past 25 years, the group has regularly organized walking tours to explore the city, book clubs, roundtable discussions, screenings of Vietnamese films, experience tours of traditional craft villages, and even contests to uncover Hanoi's secrets. Thanks to these efforts, international friends, whether newcomers or long-term residents, all come to understand and even fall in love with the hidden beauty of Hanoi and form a deep bond with the city. Old apartment buildings stand alongside high-rise towers. The old train station has been transformed into a creative hub, and street vendors continue their trade next to convenience stores. Hanoi is constantly reimagining itself to stay contemporary. Along with Friends of Vietnam Heritage, many foreigners are also deeply invested in preserving the city's identity amidst the old and the new. These include French experts who help restore old villas, and a Uruguayan economist who published the book For the Love of Hanoi, a compilation of 45 of his articles on city stories and solutions for heritage conservation and sustainable urban development.
What we try to do is study at the same time some technical aspect of the house, for example, some construction techniques, construction material used. And for that, it's also why we take a little more time to really taking care of the older way to build a house. It's really became a part of Hanoi identity.
I started writing articles in the media to protect buildings at risk, to protect heritage at risk. So my engagement is to try to influence ideas about how to balance heritage preservation with economic development. And I think they can be balanced, and not only they can be balanced, I think a city that has character attracts talent.
James, before Hanoi in Vietnam, you've been to many different countries as well. So what sets Hanoi apart from other capital cities? in the world?
Some of the things that I think set it apart would probably be the community. I think that the community is really strong here. Like, for example, with the latest storm we just had, after that storm was over, I noticed so many people going out to the street to see what they could do to help, you know? And you don't really see that in every part of the world. I was driving a motorbike the first time I was here in 2011. I wasn't used to all the traffic, and I hit the brake too hard, and I slid out of control. I fell down. The bike kind of fell on my leg, and I was bleeding everywhere. And I was amazed at just the readiness of people on the sidewalk. They were strangers. They didn't know me. But they rushed out into the street, about 10 people. They stopped, and this is on Kim Ma, and they stopped, and you know, they kind of blocked traffic for me, you know, and they helped me pick up my bike. They got me off to the side of the road, and they saw me bleeding, and they said, "Hey, are you okay?" They were genuinely concerned about, you know, my welfare, my well-being. And then one of the people on the street, they took Band-Aids from their bag and they put them on my foot. And it, like, thinking about it almost makes me want to cry right now. But I just, like, when they did that, I started crying, you know? And I said, "Thank you so much. This is so kind of you. I really appreciate it." And they said, "Hey, you should go to the hospital. Can we call you a taxi?" You know? They were just so kind about it. And I love that about Vietnamese people.
Yeah. Thank you for your sharing.
Yeah.
Also, resilience is a quality of Hanoian. I want to ask you, George, because you know a lot about the war. And you know, there are so many examples of the resilience quality. For example, the 1972 bombing, and then people of Hanoi picked themselves up and build everything from, you know, crash. So what can you say about this quality?
Well, the war is still within living memory. It's not distant history. So there is a whole generation that still remember it. It was a people's war, meaning that all the people fought that war. When the men went to the front, the women did their job in the factories, in the fields, and that's when I look at my father's photographs, I can see the people working together in every sense, not just fighting, but evacuating the school, looking after the kids, putting the kids into trenches so they don't get bombed. So all the people are working together, but they're not working just to fight an enemy, they're working for the country because they believe in the cause they're fighting.
Đồng bào chú ý, máy bay địch cách Hà Nội 50 km.
Children peered out of bomb shelters outside the Metropole Hotel. This photograph was taken by German photographer Thomas Bilhard in 1968 during one of the most intense periods of the war in Hanoi. At a time when international media coverage of Vietnam was limited, Bilhard's photographs, once widely released, gave the global audience an authentic portrayal of everyday life and the determined spirit of the people in Hanoi, continuing to work and fight. It wasn't just Bilhard. Many photographers used their photographic skills to convey to the world the resilience of Hanoi, a city enduring the flames of war while maintaining its unshakable belief in victory. The late journalist Vân Bao captured an iconic moment on the morning of December 28, 1972, by Hue Tiep Lake, where the wreckage of a recently shot down B-52 lay. Nguyen Thi Hoan, a Nok Ha vegetable and flower cooperative member, was at work as usual.
Quyết tâm tôi ở lại để giữ đến cái mảnh đất thân thương và đồng thời nữa là để cùng với mẹ và các bác xã viên hợp tác xã để ta phục vụ rau và hoa để cho sinh hoạt hàng ngày là vẫn đời thường như không có cái gì là bị cản trở cả.
Sau tiếng bom lại xuống ruộng cày lên phân xưởng tiếp tục chạy máy để sản xuất ra hàng hóa. Và sau tiếng bom thì tàu điện Hà Nội vẫn cứ lên các cửa hàng bán gạo, bán thực phẩm vẫn tiếp tục hoạt động. mọi thứ nó trở nên bình thường, bình thản và không có cái gì phải lại hoảng sợ. Cái niềm tin ấy là tự thân, niềm tin ấy được truyền từ những cái người cao nhất của Đảng, Nhà nước rằng trong cuộc chiến này chúng ta sẽ chiến thắng vì chúng ta là người chính nghĩa.
50 years later, the spirit of Hanoi and the Vietnamese people's defense of the homeland has earned deep respect not only from subsequent generations, but even from Americans.
Very significant to me that she received these flowers as a memory for the morning that she was here after the bombing.
We think about what the people endured those 2 weeks, and we remember and we honor the brave people, Vietnamese people, and what they went through here.
I have in the studio here today a very special object, and any one of you know what this is?
I do.
What is it?
I guess it's a ring made from a shot U.S. airplane during the war.
Correct.
Yeah.
And there's a special story behind this ring. It was made by a martyr who died during the war, but he made this ring out of love, and he sent it to his girlfriend at home. And here I have a letter written by him and dedicated to her, and I want to read it to you guys. I would do it in Vietnamese because the letter was written in Vietnamese. It's actually a love letter. Yeah, the original one. And as you can see here, the paper, it's very special. It's very thin, and the handwriting is beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Tiny.
Mm-hmm. Very tiny. So very difficult to read, but I'll try. Chiếc nhẫn làm bằng vỏ máy bay, em hãy giữ gìn vì nó mang nhiều ý niệm của anh. Một xác máy bay thù là chiến thắng, đôi tim lồng ôm ấp nhau sống mãi với thời gian. Và chính những hình ảnh này do tay anh chặt, mài, giũa mà thành vào những giờ nghỉ trưa tranh thủ anh dành cho em. Em thân yêu ơi, đừng buồn nhé, hãy vui lên, nở nụ cười tin tưởng vào ngày mai anh sẽ về để cùng em xem tấm ảnh, so đôi nhẫn và hát bản tình ca. So his name is Trần Minh Tiến, and this is one of the many love letters that he sent to his girlfriend, and she kept it until today. And they are both Hanoians. He was a Hanoian, and she's still alive, but she shared with us.
So this book was released about their love story. Is that? I mean, the book. The book.
I love how that margin is amazing. It's got beautiful,
quite a large margin.
It's really
stunning.
nice. Yeah, this is.
And she's kept every single letter.
Yes.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's pristine condition for something handmade with very little resources. Probably. You know. It's.
He did that during his.
Wow.
Like time.
That's one thing I've noticed also about Vietnamese relationships is that they can be extremely romantic, and it's really nice to see that. Yeah.
It's amazing. Oh, I can't read this.
Thư này anh ấy gửi vào ngày 19 tháng 7 trước khi anh đi bê. Anh ấy viết cho tôi, trong đó có cái tấm ảnh này. Tôi giữ cho anh từ năm 67. Chiếc nhẫn thì tháng 9 thì anh ấy đưa tận tay tôi. Anh bảo nhẫn là nhẫn đính hôn của chúng mình. Người ta vàng bạc như thôi. Anh là lấy chiến thắng, kẻ thù tặng em.
These vows were exchanged between Chan Minh Tien and Vu Lu Lien before he left for battle. They were classmates in middle school, and their romance blossomed in 1963 when Tien enlisted in the 102nd Regiment, 308th Division stationed in Vinh Phu. Over 5 years of long-distance love, they met fewer than 20 times, yet their love remained steadfast, nurtured through hundreds of letters filled with longing and anticipation. Among the 109 letters that Lien preserved and dated May 27, 1968, was the last one Tien sent her. He forever remained on the Keisan Quangchi battlefield.
Lá thư bác ấy dặn tôi là biết đâu là hôm nay anh không trở về. Cả cuộc đời anh hiến dâng cho Tổ quốc. Thì anh có bảo anh không ân hận điều gì, chỉ ân hận nếu lá thư này không đến tay em. Liên tục tôi gặp các đồng đội của bác ấy. Tôi biết là bác hy sinh rồi. Thì tôi chỉ nói là bây giờ anh hy sinh trong trường hợp mất tích thì có hy vọng trở về không? Nếu mà một chút hy vọng thôi, tôi cũng không đi lấy chồng nữa. Thì tôi chờ, thì các anh bảo không. Thì lúc ấy tôi òa lên, tôi khóc như chưa bao giờ được khóc. Thì tôi biết là vĩnh viễn mình mất thật rồi. Cái tiếc nuối là tôi rất yêu ông ấy. Nhưng ông ấy không bao giờ biết rằng tôi rất yêu ông ấy.
Over decades, the letters from that day remain remarkably intact. A total of 109 letters were later adapted into the book Love Letters Through the War. The letters between Martyr Tien and Lien exemplifies a typical story from wartime Hanoi, where the strength of Uncle Ho's soldiers is rooted in their noble ideals: love for the fatherland, devotion to family, and the sacred bond between couples.
Tôi nghĩ nó là một điển hình của cái cặp trai gái yêu nhau cái thời chiến của Hà Nội, và cái tình yêu của họ cực đẹp, sống một cái chết luôn kề cận nhau. Thì chính những cái tình yêu của người hậu phương, của người yêu, của người vợ thì đã giúp người lính vượt qua tất cả những khó khăn, vượt qua tất cả, thậm chí chiến thắng cái chết và trở về.
So how do story like this touch you?
The fact that he tells her be optimistic, that means that he is optimistic. And I think he's optimistic because he's fighting for his country and he believes what he's fighting for. And he knows that his whole country is with him, including his loved one.
Yeah.
I was going to say one thing really quick. I mean, I think there's kind of two reasons why people fight. One is love, one is hate. And I think that love is much stronger. It's a stronger thing to fight for. It gives us more strength. And
that's why Vietnam won.
No, I mean, for love of your family, for love of your country, for the love of your neighbors, for the community. I mean, that's why I started Keep Vietnam Clean. I mean, it's for the love of the community, the love of Vietnam. I didn't start it from anything about hate. So I think that like when you're doing something that you feel love in your heart, you know, it's a much more powerful thing than anything else that could inspire you to do something.
Good point.
As seen through the lens of international friends, Hanoi emerges with uniqueness and vibrant life. Images of newsstands, tea stalls, bustling street scenes near Tet bring Hanoi of yesteryear back to life, captured by William E. Crawford and David Allen Harvey during the 1980s. While former British Deputy Ambassador John Ramsden documented tranquil yet resilient daily life of Hanoians, despite the hardships of the subsidized economy in more than 1,700 photographs.
I rather admired people. I mean, despite all the difficulties, you know, it was a very beautiful place. People had great, I thought, dignity and courage, really, and managed to still create, you know, to uphold traditional values in a remarkable way.
In the eyes of former French ambassador Jean-Noël Poirier, the charm of modern-day Hanoi lies in its narrow alleys, the morning exercise routines, street food, and the spontaneous choreography of traffic. This is Hanoi through his narration in the documentary My Hanoi.
Tôi rất thích đi lang thang trong thành phố. Tôi luôn khám phá những nơi mà tôi từng đặt chân đến. Trong thời gian 4 năm, tôi đã lang thang khắp các con phố ở Hà Nội.
When looking up, American photographer Peter Steinhauer is captivated by Hanoi's apartment blocks, with their lively colors and a strong sense of community. Shared activities take place in the courtyards or hallways, creating a small village closeness within the heart of the city. This distinctive portrayal of Hanoi and his other photos taken in Vietnam earned Peter the 2007 Best Photography Book of the Year award from American Photography magazine Photo District News.
The Nhà Tập Thể project in Hanoi. For me, like I lived in Hanoi, I was completely taken by them as well. I know that those are part of the essence of Hanoi.
Hanoi is not only a picture-perfect scene through photographers' lenses, but also an emotional city, as portrayed in the song Hanoi by French singer-songwriter La Grande Sophie. She wrote about her longing for Hanoi while in Paris after a short tour in Vietnam.
Hanoi, Hanoi, je me souviens ton visage.
Hanoi's harmonious blend of past and present is captivating on every street corner, in every living space, and in daily life. This uniqueness is a rich source of artistic inspiration for international friends, inspiring emotional and profound works about a city full of life.
So, what are the DNA of Hanoi that you think make Hanoi Hanoi, and that part should be kept and preserved?
I love the khu tập thể.
Khu tập thể.
Yeah, I love them. And again, it comes back to the sense of community, because I think a lot of the people that live in the khu tập thể, like Kim Lian and Giang Bo and Tang Xuan, they would say that they have a sense of community that isn't there in the modern buildings, and they are artistically beautiful to look at. I know that some of them, obviously, they need to be renovated, but I think the concept of the community is another reason for how Hanoi and Vietnam has been able to rebuild itself.
And one of the things I think is important to kind of, like as far as the DNA, is dynamic sidewalks. I mean, the sidewalk culture in Hanoi.
Yes, of course,
the
fantastic.
Sidewalk culture is, for me, if there was no sidewalk culture in Hanoi, it would be so much different.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
That is a DNA of
Yeah,
Hanoi.
you're right, you're right.
Another thing that really connected with me since I first came here was the aroma of the alley. You know, when you're going through the alley, you have so many different smells. Most of them are, like the sweet smell of pho, you know, or like whatever it is, the familiar smell of like the milk flour. There's some kind of milk flour.
Right.
I love that smell. And there's just so many different aromas.
Wow, how about all these flowers moving through the streets? That is a beautiful flower.
Oh my
Okay,
gosh, there's
we're being
so
romantic,
many.
of course,
Oh
but
my
it's so
gosh,
beautiful
there's so
for
many
us.
yes.
As
So many things, so many things.
And that's something I actually missed when I first left Vietnam. I'm like, I just want to go back and smell the alley, you know? I want that alley smell.
Rats.
Just give me that, you know? Like, just the mixture of, like cha la lot, somebody's cooking cha la lot somewhere, or they're, you know what I mean?
Fish sauce.
Yeah, it's the fish sauce, just and the combination of everything, the pho, the chicken, I don't know, like the bún cá or something like that. You know, it's just like all of these kind of like flavors in the air.
In a smelly canal with dark water, knee-deep in muck, with gloved hands pulling out discarded plastic and debris, this foreigner's quiet determination has earned him the title of Trash Hero. This is James Joseph Kendall, affectionately known as Ong Tai Zong Zak, the Western man who cleans up trash. James's journey in Vietnam didn't begin with fanfare or grand gestures. Instead, it started with a simple act of him rolling up his sleeves and diving into the work that few dared to do. In 2016, James founded Keep Hanoi Clean to take meaningful action against the city's environmental issues. By organizing regular cleanup events, James and his team have engaged nearly 2,000 volunteers and collected tons of trash from over 50 locations in Vietnam. James's efforts have been formally recognized. In 2016, he received the Love for Hanoi Award, acknowledging his dedication to the city's environmental protection. James's love for Hanoi has remained unwavering over the years, consistently evident in both everyday efforts and moments when the city truly needed help. This dedication was powerfully demonstrated in the aftermath of Typhoon Yagi, which hit Vietnam in September 2024. When the typhoon ravaged Hanoi, leaving fallen trees, debris, and widespread damage, James, alongside a group of expats and local volunteers, sprang into action to help clean and restore the city.
We just wanted to help Hanoi in any way we could, and we found this. Because we live here, you know, we lived through this experience of the typhoon as well, and we want to give back and help as much as we could.
Live in Vietnam is kind of like a home for me, so I figured I should help out. Seen people like donating boats and stuff like that, and then some people can come out and help clean the city. So I think it's great. However anybody can pitch in and help is great.
Whether in the wake of natural disasters or during environmental cleanup drives, James, alongside other expats, consistently demonstrated that love for the city knows no borders. What truly sparked this passion in James is the remarkable Vietnamese spirit.
Tôi nghĩ là một điều đặc biệt về người Việt Nam và cộng đồng Việt Nam là mọi người có trái tim rất to và luôn luôn sẵn sàng để tham gia cùng nhau. Tôi cảm thấy rất là tự hào người nước ngoài sống ở Hà Nội.
What about your project, Keep Hanoi Clean? Would you launch any new activities?
Well, it started out as Keep Hanoi Clean, and then about 3 years later, we became like a registered organization, and then we changed it to Keep Vietnam Clean. Okay. But it's rooted in Hanoi. It started in Hanoi, and it started because of the love of Hanoi. Our main structure is clean air, clean water, clean land. Just try to help raise awareness about environmental issues and why it's important to protect the environment and how we can do all the things we love to do while being responsible and protecting the environment.
What about you?
Well, I want to continue my propaganda efforts.
Nữ anh hùng quét rác của Hà Nội.
So I keep create new heroes that contribute
such amazing,
to making Hanoi, to keep Hanoi clean and green, and we can collaborate on this.
Their job is extremely hard, extremely stressful.
They are heroic.
And I've actually joined them. I've joined them and cleaned up with them, and I know how difficult it is. I love this art. It's amazing.
Maybe you can exhibit this artwork.
We can collaborate. We can do
in your event.
That's a really cool.
Just imagine Hanoi is a person, is a human. What would you say to her?
I'm proud. I would say I'm really proud of you.
I would say I love you.
That's an easy
yes, it is easy.
option.
Because I love Hanoi, and it's true. It is true love. It's not a kind of. No, I love Hanoi. I've lived in many beautiful cities, Paris, Sydney, but I admire them, but Hanoi is a matter of the heart. So
I would like to say, thank you as a foreigner for welcoming me into the country. I've always felt welcome here, and I think that's one reason why I'm still here.
I think I would love to borrow again the first line of the song that Sarah sang for us. Dù có đi bốn phương trời, lòng vẫn nhớ về Hà Nội. Thank you so much, and I hope that Hanoi will remain in your hearts whenever you are in the world, and you are always, you will be always welcomed to visit Hanoi.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And that has wrapped up this special edition of Talk Vietnam on Hanoi, and I hope you will join hands with us to make Hanoi a more beautiful and peaceful city. Thank you for watching, and see you again next time.
Dù có đi bóng phương trời, lòng vẫn nhớ